We've already talked about some of the basics of solving absolute value equations, but just to make them a little more complicated, a little more fun, let's go ahead and try a few things like this. Now notice these are a bit different because there's a little bit more to them. Now before you do the split, we've talked about splitting your equations in two and doing the regular equation, the bizarro equation like I called it. You got to make sure that the absolute value part of the equation is absolutely isolated on its side of the equation, meaning there's nothing else like that negative 10 on that side of the problem. Do not split these problems until that absolute value is isolated. So what we'll need to do to start is anything like that negative 10 that's in your way, make sure that that gets moved out of there absolutely first. A little bit of absolute value humor. My class didn't laugh at it either. So add that 10 to both sides and we get this. Now that my absolute value is isolated, meaning it's the only thing on that side of the equation, now we can go ahead and split to get our two answers. So remember, one of your splits is the exact same as the original problem, just drop the absolute value bars. So 3x minus 9 equals 24. For your second equation, the one that I call that bizarro equation, like Bizarro Superman, you're going to change everything that's outside of the bars to its opposite, like Bizarro Superman, get it? So what's in the bars is protected, but what's outside the bars changes signs. Then solve each one of those, each side, or each equation, I suppose, to get your two possible answers. So 3x would be equal to 33. Divided both sides by 3, so we get x equals 11. Remember, checking is mandatory for these problems. Again, these beginning ones will check out, so just for time, I'm going to say, hey, I checked it in my head and it worked out. But you should definitely be checking these. That one does work. Solve the other side of your other equation. 3x would be equal to negative 15 if I add 9 to both sides. Divide both sides by a 3, and I get x equals negative 5. Again, we've checked it, right? You can't see me, but I'm winking right now. So we check that answer, and that one does check out as well. But definitely make sure you're checking these very soon. These are not going to start to necessarily work out, so we'll have to check them. Go ahead and pause the video if you want to try that second problem on your own and check your answer. My work will pop up in just a couple seconds. You may have noticed when you were doing this equation that we ended up with our absolute value equal to 0. You can't split that one because there's no such thing as plus or minus 0. So this is one of those cases where you might only get one answer. So hopefully you caught that and you realize that the only answer you'll get with this is x equals negative 2. And I'm sure you checked that one because you need to, but that will check out.